Most people don't deliberately aim to sabotage their lives. But destruction rarely shows up with warning signs and flashing lights. It sneaks in quietly, in small, forgettable moments that feel harmless, until they're not. There's a chilling truth about some married women, one that slips past most men completely. Not because she's broken, not because she's immoral, but because she's human. Temptation doesn't shout, it whispers. And the most dangerous part? It always starts subtly. It's the casual chats that go on a little too long. It's the text that makes her smile for no reason. It's the way her pulse quickens, not when her husband calls, but when someone else's name lights up her phone. Psychologists call it boundary erosion. Little lines that get crossed, one after another, until the map of who she was, wife, mother, loyal partner, fades into someone she barely recognizes. So, why is it that some married women become easy targets? Why do they sometimes drift so far from what they once promised to protect? And more importantly, how do they convince themselves it's okay? That's what we're about to uncover. Let's dive in. 1. The hidden hunger. Why some married women crave attention beyond the vows. A strong marriage is built like a bridge, steady, balanced, supported on both sides. But not all bridges remain intact. Over time, some begin to crack quietly. And sometimes even the most devoted wife starts to glance outside her marriage. Not for betrayal, not for escape, but for something far more subtle, to feel seen again. It's not always about lust. It's rarely about wanting someone new. It's about filling a space that's slowly gone unnoticed. At the start of a marriage, everything feels electric. The late-night laughs. The looks that say everything without a word. The feeling of being admired, cherished, chosen. But life happens. Schedules take over. Conversations become transactions. Did you pick up the groceries? The spark dims. And somewhere in the rhythm of routine she disappears. Not to the world, but to him. And that's where it begins. Not with an affair. Not with betrayal. With a message. A glance. A compliment. Something small, but it lands deep. A reminder, I still have it. Psychologists call this the slow erosion of emotional intimacy. Not conflict. Not screaming matches. But silence. Indifference. When a woman no longer feels noticed, her heart starts searching, sometimes without her even realizing it. It's not about leaving. It's about remembering. Remembering how it felt to be desired, to be the mystery, to feel alive. And then someone, maybe a stranger, maybe an old friend, gives her that feeling back. Not with grand gestures, just by listening, by looking at her like she matters. It's like water after a drought. Oxygen after years of holding her breath. Even if she doesn't mean to cross the line, she may start dancing on the edge of it. Not because she stopped loving her husband, but because she stopped recognizing herself in the mirror. Here's the piece no one talks about. Marriage often replaces a woman's identity with roles. She becomes the wife, the mother, the caretaker. Her name fades into titles. Her dreams take a back seat to responsibilities. And after years of being the glue that holds everything together, she starts to forget who she was before she became everyone else's anchor. So when a moment comes, a brief second where she feels like herself again, not the wife, not the mom, but her, it can feel intoxicating. Not because she wants to cheat, but because she wants to feel real again. That's the unspoken hunger. The silent pull. And the reason why some married women, without meaning to, start seeking attention from places they never thought they would. 2. The justification trap. How the mind makes wrong feel right. The heart makes the decision, then the mind finds the story to make it acceptable. Anonymous. No woman wakes up one morning and decides, today I'll betray my vows. That's not how it happens. It starts quietly. Slowly, like a small crack in glass that spreads before anyone notices it's even there. When a married woman begins stepping into emotionally or physically risky territory, it almost never feels wrong at first. It's not a leap, It's a series of tiny, harmless-looking steps. Steps her own mind carefully wraps in layers of justification before her actions even surface. Because the truth is, guilt is heavy. And the mind will do everything it can to drop that weight, even if it means rewriting reality. So how does it begin? It starts in the subtle moments. A little attention. A playful exchange. A text that lingers longer than it should. She tells herself, "It's nothing. I'm just talking. It's innocent. I'm not doing anything wrong." And she believes it because she wants to believe it. The human brain is wired for survival, not truth. If something feels good but goes against your values, your mind scrambles to build a bridge between the two. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable inner tension when your actions don't match your morals. To protect itself, the mind adjusts. It shifts. It creates stories. I'm just flirting, it's harmless. If my husband was more attentive, I wouldn't need this. This has nothing to do with my marriage, it's separate. And just like that, the foundation begins to shake. What's even more dangerous? The first form of betrayal isn't physical, it's emotional. And emotional infidelity is slippery. It's quiet. It wears no obvious scars. It starts with those long late-night conversations. With sharing dreams, frustrations, and secrets with someone who isn't her husband. With giving another man the part of her that used to belong only to one. She tells herself, "I'm just being honest. It's just emotional." But what she may not see is, emotional intimacy is the glue of real connection. And the moment she starts giving it to someone else, she's already begun disconnecting from the man she married. Cheating doesn't always begin with touch. It begins with secrets. Unknown. And here's where things escalate. Because as the emotional bond with the outsider deepens, something dangerous takes root. Entitlement. The story changes. It's no longer, "This might be wrong." It becomes, "I deserve this. I've sacrificed so much. He doesn't notice me. I've been loyal for years, and for what?" This is the most dangerous point. The tipping edge. Because once she believes she's earned this escape, the guilt vanishes. The line blurs. And the final step feels not like betrayal, but justice. Here's the truth. Married women who cross the line aren't doing it because they're weak or bad. They're doing it because the human brain is skilled at defending what it wants. And once it begins spinning justifications, those thoughts become armor. Tiny rationalizations become habits. Habits become choices. And choices become consequences. And when the mind fully believes that crossing the line is no longer wrong, there's nothing left to stop it. 3. The breaking point, when the line becomes a blur. We don't feel the weight of our habits until they've chained us in place. Samuel Johnson. Every story has a turning point. Not always loud. Not always dramatic. But a moment so subtle, it barely feels like a choice. And yet, it changes everything. At first it's all shadows. Flirty glances. Innocent texts. Conversations that stay just within the lines. She tells herself, "It's just harmless fun. I'm not doing anything wrong." But there comes a moment, the first time. The first time she hits send on a message she wouldn't want her husband to see. The first time she meets up as friends, but feels her pulse quicken. The first time his hand lingers, and she doesn't move away. That's the shift. The invisible line has been crossed. And suddenly, the second time doesn't feel so wrong. The third? Almost natural. The fourth? Practically routine. In psychology they call this threshold theory, the idea that once you cross the mental barrier once, each time after becomes easier. What once felt forbidden starts to feel normal. She doesn't even see it happening. Because this isn't about the man. It's about what he makes her feel. Excitement. Attention. Desire. Feelings she hasn't felt in years. And the brain? It eats it up. Neurologically, romantic attraction hits the same pathways as cocaine. That rush of dopamine, the thrill of being wanted, it's addictive. And once she's hooked on that feeling, she'll chase it like a high, even if it means lying to herself in the process. At first, hiding messages feels unnatural. She hesitates, feels the guilt. But guilt is a shapeshifter. Eventually, it morphs into strategy. She gets smarter, more careful. She lies to herself better than anyone else. And soon she's living two lives seamlessly. I'll end it soon. I just need closure. It's under control. But time keeps passing. And what started as a distraction becomes something she can't walk away from. Here's the final devastating twist. At some point, she stops seeing her husband as her partner. He becomes the background, the roommate, the formality, because now the real emotional connection is somewhere else. And even if she's never touched the other man, her heart is no longer at home. At this stage, there are only two possible outcomes. She gets caught, or she walks away, because living a double life starts feeling like suffocation. So why do some married women fall so easily? Not because they set out to cheat, but because they're searching for a feeling they lost. And once they find it, letting go feels unbearable. Not because they've stopped loving their husbands, but because they've started believing they'll never get that feeling back at home. And that belief changes everything. But here's the truth: if you can see the pattern, see the signs, you hold a power most never will. The power to recognize the subtle shifts, the power to understand what's hidden beneath the surface, and the power to see through the game before it plays you. If you got something out of this, make sure to drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into attraction psychology and the Stoic way of thinking. Until then, stay sharp, stay mindful,